Yo, 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 what is going on, CoD Familia? It is your boy Z, BN, aka Mr. Kingdom Builder. And today, we are going to be taking a look at finally the second month version, cycle reiteration of our top stats in Call of Dragons. This is where we go through kingdoms. I'll pull data from each of them with my scout accounts. Again, there's only 4 kingdoms right now, but in short, I'll always have a scout account in every new kingdom. We pull the data, I compile it, and then we put together a top 25 list across a bunch of different fields. Today, we're going to take a look at 4, just because I don't have a full top 25 for these ones. They're more shorter and condensed. So we're going to take a look at the strongest servers. We're going to take a look at the which kingdoms have the most amount of PvP points / merit points. We're going to take a look at the most Castle 25 players in each kingdom, and then also the most amount of players that have maxed out Dragon Trail. And again, this is probably going to be a small one. I just figured something nice to kind of throw in as an extra icing, even though I'll probably remove it once the kingdoms end up getting a lot more that come into the game. So a few notes real quick is that remember, new videos are going to be coming out every day at 9 a.m. Eastern Time / 14 UTC time in-game, at least for now until another Daylight Savings Time or something reverses or goes forward. And then before we get started with everything, as always, if you enjoy the content, make sure you sub, like, ring the notification bell. And of course, if you want to join and be a part of our conversation, hit up the Discord. You can find a link to that in the pinned comment description right down below. Okay, let's go ahead and start off with our top servers. So, bump-a-dum-bump-a-bump. Okay, so we got, here is it, and I'm not going to do the whole filler thing because there's just not enough to do that as much as I'd like. So here we have server 1, which is still remaining, number 1 at 4.75 or 4.76 bill. We got the new come up here from server 4, now in the number 2 position at 4.67 or 4.68 if you want to round bill. We got server 2 dropping down from number 2 now to number 3. They're at 4.34 billion, and then server 3 dropping down 1 spot here to now the number 4 server at 3.54 billion. Again, a couple stats here that I thought were interesting is that the increase here for server 1 on their total power is plus 1.2 bill. Server 4 up from 4, which makes sense. They've increased plus 3.1 billion power since we last took the data on October 10th. Then we have server 2 at plus 2.08 bill. And then we have server 3 plus 1.81 billion on the increase. So decent ranges. Now, to give you a little bit of history here, server 1 essentially started off with kind of a good amount of fighting in the beginning and throughout somewhat of the middle, and then pretty much is now kind of unified, or at least in more of a developmental state, where they're able to kind of start progressing unimpeded. Server 2 probably has been fighting the most out of all the kingdoms. There was a brief lull period for maybe about a week, but for the most part, they've been fighting nonstop, especially with the content you see me doing for the past couple videos as well in Zone 3. Even though things have kind of somewhat slowed down a bit, there still is a decent amount. Then you have server 3, which has done probably the second to least amount of PvP, right? A little bit less than server 1, but a little more than server 4. And then server 4 has done the least amount, and they've also been in a state of development, right, where they've been kind of able to develop at a rate of 100% or closer to that because of the least amount of PvP they've been conducting. And then you get to some of the ranges. Now, the range metric here, or data point, is really based on the difference between the power difference between the number 1 ranked alliance and the number 7 ranked alliance in a kingdom, right? In short, the lower this number, the more balanced the alliances are in a kingdom. The wider the number, the more of an imbalance there is between those alliances, right? So you can see here the most at server 1, right, just between 1 and 7. The least is server 4. And then you have the second most, server 2, and then third most, or second to least, right, or number 3 would be server 3. All right, so that pretty much shows that off. And something that I thought was interesting too as well, right? If you look at the number 7 ranked alliances here, look at Kingdom 4, 156 mil for their number 7 ranked alliance. That bumped up almost double here to 300 mil. Then you look at server 3, 198. They actually went down by 30 mil for their number 7. Then you look at server 2, 207. They actually increased theirs by 12 mil. And then you look at server 1 at 113. They increased theirs by 30 mil. Right? So just to kind of show you how some of the numbers can really add up when you're kind of taking a look at the details. That's one of the things I love doing. Okay. That pretty much sums up the top or strongest servers. Now we're going to go ahead and take a look at server merits, right? You got all these to look forward to down here as well. So server merits, this is the most PvP kingdoms based on their points. So you can see here that the data also justifies what we're talking about, which is that server 2 has had the most amount of PvP, right? They're plus 60, 61 mil points above server 1, right? So as we were saying, you can see how another data set kind of complements what we were just talking about for strongest servers and giving a little bit of history there, right? Where server 1 had the second most PvP, server 3 had the third most, and server 4 with the least, right? And you can see here just between the two, right? You're looking at, what is this, 170, right? 166, so to speak, mil difference between the strongest kingdom or the kingdom with the most PvP and then the one with the least PvP. And you can see here, right, as the number 1 alliances, right, you could see King here, or this would be King from server 1 has the most, and then TA from server 2, right, has second most. You can see here on the lower ends, server 4 actually has the most for the number 7 ranked alliances, but again, just kind of shows you 2, 1, 3, 4, kind of most PvP to least. It kind of also gives you an idea on which kingdoms have just been doing the most fighting. But remember, the kingdoms that do the least fighting, right, have a higher chance, not necessarily guaranteed, but a higher chance of progressing more and developing more as a kingdom. And we saw that with the top kingdom stats, with server 4 having the biggest bump up because they've been arguably doing the most amount of development. So it's kind of the difference between, right, do you fight all the time? And, you know, the argument is you gain some PvP experience, you gain PvP experience more so than kingdoms who don't fight a lot. I could argue that all day and make some really good points, but that's for another video. So, right, you have one argument here, and then the other argument is, okay, well, you don't do that much PvP. Maybe you have organized PvP and you focus more on pure development. And I think that's kind of what you're seeing now with the difference between server 2 and server 4, in my opinion, right? They're really kind of almost at polar opposites there on that side of the spectrum. And it's interesting to see how each of them are developing kind of at their own rates. Then we go ahead and let's get to the max castles at 25. These are going to be short. These next two are going to be real short. So you got server 1 has 13 players at castle 25. Server 2 has 10. Server 4 has 6. And server 3 has 4. Then we get to most max Dragon Trail players for the kingdoms. And this is at 279, right? That's the max amount of stars you can get to, at least from what I've seen so far. Server 1 has 132 players at max, server 2 has 82 players at max, server 4 has 75, and then server 3 has 54. And yeah, and that pretty much sums it up. Like I said, it's going to be a short video. I'll have everything time-carded and stamped at the bottom, and you can also see the title cards going across the bottom of the screen. Let me know anything and everything. What are your thoughts, again, on the top servers, your thoughts on most server merits, right, for Kingdom PvP, Castle 25s, and Dragon Trails. Again, would love to hear anything and everything. Let me know in the comments down below. That is it for me. As always, until next time, without me popping up my Discord randomly, I will catch you later.